My name is Lulanga Sydney. I'm a tutor for Introduction to Personnel Management and Administration. In this course and in this presentation, we are going to look at personnel administration, personnel management in contrast to human resource management. But as we begin this course, let us look at the learning outcomes, the competencies that you are expected to attain at the end of this course. So at the end of this course, you should be able to employ registration, regulations, and policies that must be administered within the personnel administration functions. You should be able to interpret the functions of personnel administration in both public and private sector. And then you should be able to explain the difference between personnel administration and human resource or human resources management. Now, as we begin this presentation, let us begin by defining what personnel management is. We are going to look at two particular people, Dale and Edwin, Fripo and Yonde. These try to give us the proper definition of what personnel management is. Dale Yonde says that personnel management is that phase, is that passage in life or passage in human resource. It's a phase of management which deals with the effective control and usage of manpower. So what Dale is talking about is that personnel management is that component of management, and when we are looking at management, we mostly refer to Henry Fayol, which deals with the effective. Effective is positive impact, positive control of human resources. And Fripo talks about planning and organizing, composition, integration, and maintenance of people for the purpose of contributing to organizational, individual, and social goals. So personnel management mostly looks at what Henry Fayol talks about, the 5 functions of management. Now, personnel management, as we talked about Henry Fayol, who looks at the 5 functions of management, personnel management looks at planning human resources. How many people do you need? Or literally, what we are talking about here is having the right people in the right place at the right time. So you plan human resource, you plan the hiring of human resource, the maintenance of human resource, and also the exit of that the human resource from the organization. And then organizing, directing, and controlling. Now, not only are we talking about in personnel management of human resources, but we are also talking about different components of the organization. For example, procurement, buying and selling, the business side of of the organization, the development, the expansion of the organization, also the people in training and developing, composition, integration, maintenance, and separation of all human resources to the end that individual, organization, or society objectives are realized or accomplished. So modern enterprises or modern businesses, they have the tendency to create a separate department that deals with managing people, or a department that looks at staff function, but does not mean that the rest of the organization is isolated, but only that you are creating a separate entity within the organization that helps with the maintenance of people, managing of people, hiring of people, exiting of people from the organization. So what modern organizations do is to try to create specialty areas. So the personnel manager has exclusive responsibility of a number of items in the organization. For example, personnel records. A personnel manager keeps records for each and every individual working in the organization. Insurance benefits administration, unemployment compensation administration, personnel research, Now, personnel manager or personnel management has a major component when it comes to maintaining and administering certain resources in the organization. It is the heart of the organization. People are the heart of the organization, and therefore there should be proper coordination, proper synergy between the people and the organization, and they need to coexist. So the other issue about personnel management that we are going to look at is manpower planning, which we looked at already, but we are looking at it in detail. Manpower planning literally talks about human resources planning, trying to estimate and forecast the manpower requirements for an enterprise, taking into consideration the existing and the future objectives of the enterprise. So we estimate, we forecast, we look forward, we say how many people do we have now, how many people do we need, and why do we need these people, what direction does the organization intend to take. So the estimates of human resources requirements is based on the future plans of production expansion, for example, the nature of technology, the structure of enterprises. It also tries to see that you have the right people in the right place at the right time. So here we are looking at skills, we are looking at abilities, we are looking at competencies of the people that are engaged, whether they have the ability, whether they have the capacity, whether they have the capability to do the work that they are required to do. So the essence of manpower planning is the right man or the right person on the right job, and the right job for the right person. That's what the essence of manpower planning is. Now, manpower planning, Beach and Siros, they define what manpower planning is, or human resources planning is. They say that it's a process of determining and assuring that the organization has the adequate number of qualified personnel. It also is the focusing or prediction of the number of people whom the organization will have to hire, to train, or promote in a given period of time. So manpower planning involves the estimation of the size and the quality of the workforce required by the organization to accomplish its desired objectives. So the significance of manpower planning is that it looks at different aspects. Manpower planning is the essential activity of personnel management, and therefore it looks at different factors within the organization. For example, it takes cognizance of the present human resources that the organization has working for it, and the type of business that it is involved in, and the direction that the business wants to take, and the type of personnel that it may require. So it estimates, it plans, it takes cognizance of the present, it looks at the shortages or the surplus of human resources in the organization, it looks at recruitment, it looks at transfer, it looks at training and development of employees. It also looks at ways on reducing the labor cost by avoiding surplus human resources overstaffing. It also helps in identifying talent available in the organization, what type of training, what type of development programs the organization should have in place. It also helps in the growth and diversification of the business. It looks at how it can help employees to handle the jobs or the tasks that they are assigned to them. It also leads to greater awareness of the significance of sound personnel management throughout the organization. Since we have looked at manpower planning, now let us look at staffing. Staffing is also a key component when it comes to personnel management. Staffing looks at three major areas. It looks at managerial responsibility. It also looks at continuous function. It also looks at the human element in in personnel management. So staffing, the importance of staffing, it provides a number of factors or benefits, or it brings about benefits to the organization, such as an efficient performance. It ensures that the organization is able to perform. Individuals who are hired, maintained, are able to perform. They are able to complement the effort of the organization to ensure that the set objectives are realized. It also makes use of the latest technology. It looks at the development and training of human resources and the maximum use of human resources. It also looks at the proper motivation and higher morale. Now, what are some of the elements of staffing? There are a number of elements of staffing which brings about the issue of interdependency. Interdependency activities within staffing, literally meaning that there's no one component that would do away with the other. So all the components within human resource or within the organization, through staffing, it makes the organization realize that all the components, no matter how big or small, they support each other and they coexist. So it looks at the planning of human resources, it looks at recruitment, it looks at selection, it looks at the placement of personnel, the proper placement of personnel, induction, orientation, it looks at all those, and compensation, remuneration is also looked at. It also looks at training and development. It looks at performance appraisal. It looks at promotion and transfer. It also looks at human relations within the organization. So what is the importance of personnel management? Personnel management has a number of factors that it realizes in an organization. So the first one, which we have looked at already, is the efficient performance of employees, having the right people in the right place at the right time. So this brings about the quality of the persons or the personnel that is engaged. It brings about the significance of the personnel management. And then the second one is the usage of latest technology, ensuring that the personnel that is hired has the capacity to manipulate the latest technology to use it to the advantage of the organization. The third point is about the development of manpower. It looks at ensuring that the employees are trained, they are equipped, they are given the right tools to carry out the tasks that they are expected to carry. Remember Frederick Taylor in scientific management, who talks about, who highlights actually the importance of having well-trained personnel. And then the fourth one is the maximum use or optimum use of manpower, using manpower the way it's supposed to be used, getting the best of the human resources or out of the human resources. And the fifth one talks about the proper motivation. There are ways that employees or the employees need to be motivated. So there are two major ways that employees could be motivated. There's the financial and the non-financial. Financial is monetary, giving employees, for example, allowances, incentives, bonuses. Those are financial, anything to do with money. But employees could also be motivated by non-financial incentives. For example, having a day off, having a picture put on the board as the best employee of the month, having flowers being given to the employee, having a paid holiday, things like that. Those are non-financial incentives. Then the sixth one is the higher morale, ensuring that the employees remain motivated, they have high morale, they have the heart for the company, they have the heart for their work. So what are the elements of personnel management? The first element of personnel management is planning, manpower planning. The second one is recruitment. The third one is selection. The fourth one is placement of personnel. The sixth one is orientation or induction. And the seventh one is the remuneration. The eighth one is training and development, the ninth one. And the 10th one is performance appraisal and promotion and transfer. Okay, so those are the elements of personnel management. These elements of personnel management, they help us to realize the importance of personnel management. For example, in manpower planning, it's concerned about determining the number and the types of staff required for the organization. In recruitment, having recruiting people based on merit, ensuring that the due process takes place in recruiting people, and then the right people are selected, and then they are placed where they're supposed to be placed, and then people are oriented. They are given the cultural elements of the organization. They understand the organizational culture, and people are remunerated accordingly, and people are trained and developed the way they're supposed to be trained, and then people are praised, and there's also people are recognized through promotion, and people are moved around, transferred, sent to places where the services would be appreciated the most. And then we also have the 11th one, the human relations, the workplace environment, ensuring that the tripartite relationship in the organization is realized. Now, what are some of the challenges of modern personnel management? The first one is the changing mix of the workforce. The issue based on gender. There are more women than men coming into the workplaces. There are more young people, and the older ones are dying out. So that mix is one of the challenges of workplace. Personnel management, for example, we should have equal pay, equal rights. Women should be looked upon as people who are able to deliver, who are able to do work. So there's no specific work now that you could say this is only a men territory. Okay, the glass ceilings need to be broken down. So, and then accommodating young people, which bring young people, they bring challenges to the issue about organizational culture. Then the second challenge is changing personnel values of the workplace. And then the third one is changing expectations of citizen-employee relationships. Different people have different expectations. Personal values, the understanding of the personal codes, code of ethics and ethical code, what is right and what is wrong, understanding what work is, what is good and what is bad. And then the fourth one is the levels of production or productivity, performance-based compensation, for example, quality products, contractual work, not permanent work, and then the changing demands of government, the changing demands of society, changing demands of the personnel who are employed in organizations. Now, as we conclude in this presentation, we have looked at a number of factors in this presentation. We have gone through different dimensions of nature and processes of staffing, human resource planning. So as we wind up, let us quickly go through some of the reminders or some of the key points in this presentation. So we looked at staffing. We said personnel management looks at getting the right people in the right place at the right time. We also looked at manpower planning. We looked at the difference between personnel management and human resources.